Robin Saxton, the head groundsman at Glamorgan, now joins us. Robin, catching up with you here at Egbaston, wanted to have a quick chat with you a little bit about how you got into the industry. And I think you started out work placement at Essex, is that right?
Yeah, 2 weeks work experience when I was at college doing a completely different avenue, so sports science and physiotherapy was what I was doing. So a college lecturer who'd played some second team cricket for Essex said he could get me a couple of weeks work experience on the ground, did that and haven't really looked back since, fell in love with it and still doing it to this day.
So what did you like about that? Because you were going to be a physiotherapist,
Yeah,
weren't you?
physiotherapy was where I was heading, but I like cricket anyway, played cricket, played cricket for years and years, so had that interest, like being outdoors, like being hands-on, like being busy, and just kind of, fell in love with it. I think it's one of those jobs, once you start, you do fall in love with it, you get infected by it, and you don't see yourself doing anything else.
So 2 weeks work placement, then what happened?
So following that, there was some kind of cash in hand, match day stuff with Stu down at Essex. Then a summer job the following year as I finished college, which then led into a full-time job, and then a little bit of moving about, and then finally settled at Cardiff.
Okay, so you've been at Cardiff now for how long?
2013 I started, so coming up just short of 7 years now. But it's a full circle for me. So I was actually born in Cardiff.
Oh, right, okay.
I moved to Essex when I was quite young, so 7, 8 when I moved there, and now back to where it all started.
Okay, so you've not picked up the accent in the last 7 years?
Not yet, no. I think it's getting there. So I get a little bit of ribbing from some of the boys for certain things come out a bit Welsh and certain things come out with a bit of an Essex twang, so it's a bit interesting.
You're not quite Steve McLaren.
No, not yet.
So, your time at Glamorgan, you didn't start out in the head role, you started
No, so I started as a senior groundsman under Keith Exton in 2013. That then progressed to a interim head groundsman at the back end of the 2015 season, which was then made full-time for the 2016 season.
Okay, so a nice progression throughout your career, and you can see that you're going forward.
Yeah, no, it's good. It gave me a couple of years there to learn to get a grip of the ground, to learn the ground, some of its characteristics, also spend some time with the people there that are now my staff. Yeah. So I've come up through them, I've been one of them, and now sort of take charge of them, which I think is a nice way to do it. I think it's a slightly easier, more settled way into it. I think
can sometimes be difficult.
Yeah, because there's a fine line and a balance between being one of the lads one day and the next day you walk into work and you're suddenly their boss. So, but they're a good bunch of lads, so it fitted in quite well.
That's good.
We haven't had, touch wood, any major issues so far.
So what were the challenges there when you took over? I'm more talking about the pitch rather than the people.
I think traditionally Cardiff had been quite a slow and low pitch, and had a reputation for that, so we were very keen to kind of change that. We wanted to improve our pitch marks, we wanted to move up the table as much as we could, but we wanted to change people's perceptions. We wanted to put more pace into pitches, we wanted to have high scoring games and everything everyone wants, and unfortunately it's very difficult to change a reputation that's been there for years. I think we're slowly getting there. I think a new breed of umpires and a new breed of players helps with that, because those preconceptions have gone a little bit.
Okay. And what did you change about the pitch then to get that pace into it?
We tend to leave a lot more grass on our pitches, so we've gone down that route where we're leaving a lot of grass on our one-day pitches, which has worked really well. We're now starting to bring that into our 4-day pitches a little bit more, but also trying to dry the surface out in the 4-day pitches a little bit. So we are bringing spinners into the game. We've had for years gone by a history of good spinners at Glamorgan, which the pitches have suited that. We went away from that a little bit, and that's now something that we're very keen to trying to bring back into 4-day cricket to keep everyone in the game. So if you bat well, there'll be runs there. If you bowl in good areas, there's pace in it, and the spinners will come into the game a little bit later on.
So good entertaining cricket.
Yeah, so one of the ways we've done that is we're trying to start our pitches maybe a day early, so it's a day 2 pitch on day 1.
Right, okay.
And we find in that way is bringing the spinner in a little bit earlier, but also more effectively.
And your captain and your kind of club are happy with what you're doing there, and they're playing to that advantage, are they?
Yeah, so we've settled on that. That's kind of where we want to be with it, and the team is now being kind of made up around that. One-day pitches, we're pretty much left to. Our one-day pitches have been pretty good for a couple of years now, so we're kind of left to our own devices on that. We know what our one-day pitches are like. We know how to get them where we want them. And the 4-day one, we're really starting to kind of settle on a blueprint of how we want to progress.
So So you mentioned with the one-day pitches you wanted to get the scores up.
Yeah.
Well, you managed that, didn't you?
Yes, yeah. So yeah, I say last year we were close.
Yeah.
We had a good year last year, and Simon and Carl went perfect and have set the bar, and that's really where people have got to be now to have, I think we had 11 or 12 very goods through the season, which is what it's got to take. You can have a good in your first game of the year and count yourself out of probably the top 6 or 7 places now. Okay. So it's become really competitive, but a good competitive. I think everyone is kind of driving each other on with that. I think people are wanting to be as good as they can, and it's a good group, and we're all trying to push.
So that scoring system, who gives you the score? So
the pitches are marked by what was cricket liaison officers, who are now changing their title to match referees.
Okay.
So they're given a pitch document by the ECB, so criteria that they have to mark to, and then in consultation with the umpires of the match and the 2 captains, a pitch mark is then formed from that document. So
you've got kind of like a gang of 4, as it were, at each game.
Yeah.
Those scores then go in, and there's no other input from the ECB. It's literally totting up what people have fed back on your pitches.
That's marked, and then the average is worked out at the end of the season. So there is some reviewing from the ECB, I think, on a kind of random basis. They'll look over the marks, and there's been the odd one that's been changed if they haven't quite agreed with it, but most of the time they're left pretty much alone.
So that feedback on the scores, are you getting that instantly so you can build that into your thinking?
Yeah, we get that normally, sometimes within a couple of hours of the game, maybe a day or so later. It depends when the form is then put in by CLO and if that's reviewed by the ECB, but normally within a day or so the mark is there. So you've got a pretty good tracking. And with the testing and things we're now doing with ECB, with moisture and Clegg meters, you can kind of really build up a volume of data to know where, areas that you want to try and be hitting.
So you shared a perfect score this year with Simon, who was at Taunton and has now come to Hampshire.
Yeah, so Simon's done it 2 years running now, which is phenomenal, really, to be perfect for 2 years. And I think the year before that he only had 1 good instead of very good, so he's nearly done 3 years. So he's really kind of set the bar for everyone to share the award with him is great. We're quite local to each other. There's not a great amount of distance between Cardiff and Taunton, so I'm keeping it down in the west and keeping it down that way for the time being.
So you're showing some results from the brief you were given, and you've met that. That's going to be, I guess, a highlight of your career. What are the other highlights of your career so far?
I think being involved in the Ashes Test match. So 2013, we had Champions Trophy. We went into an Ashes Test match in 2015. So I think being part of that has been a highlight. To go from a county ground to an international ground, to see how that works and how that runs has been great. I think to go another level up again is phenomenal, and it's something that I'm proud to have been part of, and hopefully it won't be my last involvement in Ashes Test matches, but that's not for me to decide.
So coming into a new season now, preparations going the way you want them to?
If it stopped raining, they would.
Right, okay.
It's been pretty wet for everyone this year, so we're happy with where we are with the weather that we've had. We'd like to be a little bit further on, but I think everybody's in the same boat this year, that we're just sitting hoping that at some point the heavens shut and we'd actually get around to doing some work rather than sitting watching it rain for days on end.
And what's the highlights for this year coming up for you then?
So this year the 100 comes in, so we've got one of the 100 franchises, which is completely new for everyone. I don't think anyone quite knows how it's going to pan out and how it's going to go, but it's happening, so we're on board with it, and we want it to be a success. We want Welsh Fire, which is our 100 team, to do well and be competitive, so that's going to be a highlight. Again, we've got an IT20 at the back end of August, so the international cricket is always exciting, always something to look forward to, but the 100 will be the big one this year to see how that plays out.
Any different approach to a 100 pitch?
No, I wouldn't have thought so, unless different head coach with the franchise wants to do anything different, but hopefully it'll be as was, and we'll just keep the one-day pitches quite similar. So I'd have thought that'd be the brief. They're quite flat, quick pitches, and that'll suit the kind of side we've got for the franchise as well as our one-day side.